She had texted me like, hey, I think there are terrorists in the building, but I've run, I'm hiding, I'm safe. So I saw, he sent it at around 3:30, 3:35, and then I saw it short, like maybe 15, 20 minutes later, and I'm like, okay. And then he was like, he loved jokes, and he was known for that. So I was like really, seriously? What are the chances? But when I got online, like on my laptop at work, on YouTube, and I saw on Citizen, like live, like it was being aired already.
Yes.
I was like, oh gosh, this is serious. 5 of his colleagues were together, and they had been hiding under like stairs at the end of their building. When one of those terrorists was coming down, hitting his gun, or the butt of the gun on the rails of the staircase, they had him, and so they were shushing. If there's one person who wanted me to get married, it was her.
How? She just lost her son.
Yeah, but for her, no, she lost her son, and I think for her, so immediately she has gotten a daughter more than she has lost her son. And so she was like, one day you'll get a good husband, blah, blah, blah. He might even be better than my son.
Are you serious?
That's what she said.
To like, the man,
immediately a man is widowed, that what people are thinking about, who is he going to marry next? But for a woman, even though it would have been 5 years or 10 years later, people would still have said it's soon. It would have said it's too soon.
A very good morning. Welcome to another episode on LNS. And today we want to dive into a very beautiful, beautiful story. When you hear that God is a restorer of persons, indeed it is true that He turns broken pieces into beautiful pieces where you can look and marvel, but all for the glory of God. Today I am having this conversation for me, and I hope it will be for you as well. Reconnecting with a friend of mine who we met in very painful circumstances, but we are here today to say that not all is gloom, not all is doom, that indeed God can give you your smile back. I don't want to take a lot of your time. I just want this beautiful girl to introduce herself. Maria, welcome to the show. Please introduce yourself to our viewers.
Thank you. Yeah. I am Mary Gaishiri officially on my ID, but on my social circles I'm called Maria.
Yes.
I love God. That's the first thing. I am married. I am a project manager profession. And in my spare time, I love traveling a lot. Many people know me for that, and serving my community.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Serving your community, that is something that I am also very passionate about. So like in what capacity do you give your time off to your community?
For me, it's in different formats. Many people have known me for my work. Since I was in campus doing, I was in Rotary Club, and now Rotary Club. And in the club, we do a lot of community service projects in our communities, both in our villages, nationally, internationally.
Awesome. So
in that capacity, but also separately, I love doing mentorship for young ladies who are getting into their careers.
That's beautiful. And
I'm also passionate about education. I am a director at the Le Grand Logic Foundation, which I will talk later about, and how it came to be. Yes. And we mostly do education for underprivileged children.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
So that community thing has pushed you all the way to where you are today. That is an amazing story.
Yeah.
Giving back to your community. Now let's go back to when me and you met. Me and you, where we met, it was... Whew.
Yeah, yeah.
It was in one of those very painful spaces.
Yeah.
And I don't want to preempt it.
Yeah.
But 2019 beat us. Coincidentally on dates that were very, very similar. And life happened. Because how we are connected is the day that your husband passed on is the day that I admitted my daughter to school.
Oh.
The very day.
I didn't know that, yeah.
And I passed that road. The Riverside Drive. I used that road because I used that road to go to school.
Oh, okay.
And I did not know you at that time. And while we were in school admitting, my friend, because she had dropped me, my friend Kelai, she got a call because she used to work at Homes Kenya, which their office is just around, down from Dusit. And she was like, somebody said, are you on your way back? And she said, no, I'm still at school. What is the problem? And she was told, don't come back to the office. There's a shootout happening and the place is, barricaded, it's being barricaded, cordoned off. So don't come back.
Yeah.
Little did I know that months later, me and you would be sitting on a round table. And that's why we are here today.
Yeah.
Could you just tell us, what happened to you at that time? Because it's not about me today, it's about you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can start off in maybe 2018.
Yes.
Just some months before. And it was August 25th. I got married to Dennis Monene.
Yes.
It was a beautiful ceremony. I was excited. I had my whole life ahead of me. I was working. I had a fairly good job. He was rising in his career at a fairly young age. He was doing quite well. He was a cybersecurity professional, top of his profession at that time in the country.
Yes.
So one of the few. And we had a lot of things, like we had a lot of hope, we had a lot of plans. So we got married in August 2018,
Yes.
after a courtship of around 2 years. But we had been friends for probably maybe 2 or 3 years before we started dating. He had pursued me for a very long time. We met in the context of volunteering. We were in the same club. And so it naturally gravitated, but he had pursued me for a really long time before I said yes. And then we dated for 2 years, and then we got married in August 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was nice. At that time, he was working for Cellulant Group. He was head of information security. He was just about 28. And then I was doing my master's. Like we had our life set.
Yes.
After this, he was just applying for his PhD to go back to the UK or the US.
Wow.
And then I was finishing my master's. And then when he finished, we go. We had all this plan.
Yes.
But now, unfortunately, on January 15th, 2019, he was at work. He had just come back from leave.
Yes.
On like the day before. He had been on leave for 2 weeks, and it had been a really nice time. We had been together with family over Christmas, our first, Christmas as a married couple.
Yeah.
We had spent it with his family in the coast, and then we came back. He was extremely happy and jolly. And I remember the week before, he was a meme guy, kept on sending me memes, funny things, but also deep stuff. So I was like, what, what's happening? And then he was also extraordinarily happy. And I was like, being on leave is doing good on you,
Yeah.
And yeah, I didn't know any issue. I didn't know any sadness. I didn't know, But now, on January 15th, I was at work, and I remember it was around 3:30, and I'm not very good on my phone, like texting and chatting, but I got on WhatsApp and saw that he had texted me like, hey, I think there are terrorists in the building, but I've run, I'm hiding, I'm safe. So he sent it at around 3:30, 3:35, and then I saw it short, like maybe 15, 20 minutes later, and I'm like, okay. And then he loved jokes, and he was known for that. So I was like really, seriously, what are the chances? But when I got online, like on my laptop at work, on YouTube, and I saw on Citizen, like live, like it was being aired already.
Yes.
I was like, oh gosh, this is serious. So I'm like, I'm seeing it on Citizen. And then he's like, what is happening? Do you know what is happening? Tell me what you can see. So I told him, like, because I was so used to the 14 Riverside complex and so where he'd park, blah, blah. So I would tell him, I'm seeing this, this, this. And yeah, we chatted for a little bit and then he just went quiet at around, shortly after, it didn't take so long, like at around 4:15, 4:10, 4:15. We probably chatted like for 15 minutes. And then at around that time, I just felt my heart sink. And all logic, I was like, if there's a terrorist attack in that complex, where his office is probably the safest because it was at the edge of the complex. And I was like, yeah, like, and me, I'm a logical person. Like, I'm not emotional. I'm not, you know, I'm just one of those people who is I like working on facts and things like that.
Yes.
But my heart just sank. And I remember I was very fidgety and I went and told my office BFF, like, hey, this is what is happening. She's like, oh my God. And then I stood for a minute, I went outside in the parking and then I just started crying. Like I wept, I cried. It didn't make sense why I was crying. And reflecting later on, I thought that like when you're getting married and the pastor says marriage is not something to be gotten in too lightly.
Yes. I
understood that it's the joining of two people and two souls.
Yes.
So when his soul departed,
the separation.
my soul felt it.
Yes.
Even when everyone else like was like, okay, let's see, you know, people are hope, but my spirit knew. And that's why I was crying, because I don't cry like that. It takes a lot, you know.
Yeah.
So I just sent an email that was hanging, like I just pressed send. And then I went with my friend. We went to her house. We started, which was not so far from my house, and to do it. And I watched the TV and it was horrible. Like I was like, oh my God, I can't stand it. So she gave me shoes because I was wearing heels, and then we took a cab, we went there. I stood there from 6 p.m. till around midnight in one spot. Oh, I didn't have a jacket. I didn't, I was numb. And we were being kept like a bit far. And at that time, I was with my friend, and then other people started coming slowly. And I remember there was this person who was an acquaintance of my friend, who was one of the heads of the defense forces. And he passed by and he's like, oh, why is your friend crying? Like, it's like, this situation is under control. Why is she crying? Like, it doesn't make sense. Why is she, you know, we have it under control.
Yeah. And
I was like, yeah, that's what makes sense. That's what makes sense. But at that time, what had happened is that, so my late husband and 5 of his colleagues were together, and they had been hiding under like stairs at the end of their building. Yes. And so when there was later on, I came to learn like a year later is that so they had been hiding under a bunch of boxes, like there were cartons, so walikuwa wamejificha. So I think now when one of those terrorists was coming down, hitting his gun, or the butt of the gun on the rails of the staircase, they had him, and so they were shushing. So probably there was some noise, and that's how they knew they were there.
Okay.
And so when he came in, he just sprayed it to them.
Yes.
But luckily, so for them, there was 4 men and 1 lady, so they had shielded her. And I came to realize that my late husband had like laid on her a bit, and yeah, that she was saved. So by the evening, they had known that had happened, but they can't say what exactly. They don't have evidence, because this thing, the confrontation happened for a couple of hours, for a couple of 24 hours, 1.5 days. I'm not so sure. But for them, they couldn't confirm something that they didn't have evidence of, you know.
Yes.
So it was a really trying moment. Afterwards, his parents came, his aunties, his uncle, cousins, and things like that. So we decided to split because we didn't have inadequate information.
Yes.
I went to my cousin's house nearby, and then they went to morgues and hospitals. And so they decided to report back. When you see there's no report, you report back. Yeah. So by the end of the night, there was nothing. And now where I was sleeping in my cousin's house, I could hear the explosion still. I didn't sleep.
You stayed close.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, it was horrible. I didn't wish that situation on my worst enemy, you know. And so the next day, I just got up really early, like at 5:45. I told my cousin, hey, I'm going to my house. I'm going to shower and change, and then so that we go back. So I took a cab, went to my house, showered, and for the, like, it just, like, there was just, yeah, this overwhelming feeling when I was alone in my house. And then now my good friend, she's called Jane, she came for me again, the one we were with in the office.
Yeah.
She's like my sister. And she took me, we went back, we spent the whole day again. No news. Yes. I'm hearing ambulances. You are hopeful that the ambulance will come with, you know.
Something.
Yeah, but nothing. And then now the family of, it was 6 in total who were affected from my husband's, my late husband's former organization. So yes, the family was just being brought together, pole pole. But they couldn't tell us because they didn't have evidence. But they knew, kind of. And so at the end of the day, we were just told, we were put together in a hotel. They briefed us as best as they could. And they told us, let's meet tomorrow at Chiroma Mortuary.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, I remember at some point when we were in that hotel, somebody came and said, oh, we have found somebody in Mpisha who is called Dinesh Monene, something like that. And we were so hopeful, like all my friends rushed and went to hospital, and they went, and so it was not him, certainly.
Oh, God.
It was just confusion, and he was called Dennis. But I remember that moment, like, when you were told there's somebody who was found in hospital, me and my mom were holding on to each other. We were like, we cried with relief. We were like, oh, it's over. I don't care if he's like, he has been disabled in whichever way. I don't care. I don't want to care. Yeah, I want them alive. Yeah, so that happened, and then the next day morning, I decided I wouldn't go to my in-laws. I would go to my house, and I went with my mom and my sister. God gave me sleep that day. I slept, and one of the things I've realized through this whole process is, like, God's grace is sufficient for every situation you're going through.
Amen.
And grace means like you get something that you don't deserve technically, unmerited favor, because in that situation many people don't sleep, but I slept.
Yeah.
And many days later I used to sleep. I don't know where I got sleep, but it was part of God's grace.
Yes.
And then I woke up and my in-laws had just arrived. They all knew by that time. Almost everyone knew other than me. And so, yeah, my dad-in-law told me eventually before we left. And he had been trying to encourage me, and he was very good at how he delivered the message.
Yeah.
But for me, I was numb. Yeah.
I can relate with that.
Yeah, yeah, you can. And so I said, I want to, and then at that time, everybody's flooding, my aunt, my family, blah, 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 they're flooding my house because they already knew. And then at that time, I said, I want to see him. I want to see him now.
Yes.
So we left, we went to Chiromo, we saw him. It was crazy. It was crazy. I can't, yeah, it was crazy. Sometimes I look at myself at that. I was around 28 at that time. I look at myself and I'm like, who is that girl who went through all that? Is it me? You know? Just seeing him lying there lifeless. I had hope. Like I was looking at his, because they hadn't done much at that time. They had just been removed, all of them. And so we are seeing them for the first time. So I was like, this guy, where has he been shot? He looks whole, like there's nothing.
Yes.
Like where, you know? I'm seeing as if his eyes can open, like, but obviously the evidence, the whole evidence of the whole room showed that he was no longer there. And it was like, but like the weird thing is that my tears dried up. Like I felt like I needed eye drops because my eyes were so dry. Your
throat.
You understand, eh?
Yes.
Stress comes in different forms to different people. Some people, they will cry.
Yes.
Some people, like, nilikauka kabisa.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I don't know. And then afterwards we went with I have a really good support system. I thank God for that. I had a lot of my friends there. We sat on the grass and we started making jokes about him and his life, and yeah.
Right at Chiromo.
Yeah, it was just a coping mechanism.
It's actually just God shielding you, because you need all the strength.
Exactly.
So you cannot just be totally done.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and shortly after, I think I have a very organized family, especially my in-laws. They just organize things very quickly. We went to a we went to a hotel. We spent the day there. People came and gave us our poles there. They got me a room. And then I was like, I don't know. I was numb. I was shocked for some time. But I remember the next day. Now I moved and stayed with my in-laws. I remember the next day I wanted to see him again. So the thing is now for me, how I coped with my grief is the more I saw his body, the more, I don't know, there was a sense of acceptance the more I went to the morgue. So I went a number of times until my mom-in-law was like, hey, na wewe surely. Tashindanga hivi, you know. But yeah, for me, it was my coping mechanism. But I remember we needed to transfer him from Chiromo we had made the decision to transfer him from Chiromo to KU for easier logistics on the day of the funeral.
Yes.
And so we did it the next day. So this had happened on Tuesday. On Wednesday, we were waiting the whole day. On Thursday, it's confirmed. We have spent the day together as a family in Poles. And then on Friday, we are transferring him. So, but I remember, like, it was, the process of transfer took a really long time. And I looked at him again, and I was like, yeah, that was something. So I decided the preservation hadn't happened very well, because first they had stayed for quite a long time before being retrieved.
Before being identified.
So it was hard.
Yes.
Yeah, it was hard. But I don't know, when we were doing the transfer, I said, if I said I do to him, say, get into this hearse. And yeah, there was no coughing or anything. So I just decided, let me get in the hearse. And yeah, it was hard because of the situation. Yeah. And because of the whole situation, it was hard. It was hard being in that car, you know. It's not just a body, but there's everything around it.
Yes.
And then my mom-in-law said, okay, if Marie is getting in, I'm going to get in and sit in next to her.
Thank God.
So she sat next to me and she held my hand, and then my cousin came along and his cousin. And I remember being stuck in traffic, Museum Hill.
Yes.
At around like 5:30, 5:45. And I realized, oh, kuna jam. Like, there's traffic. It means life is continuing. By the way, life is continuing. Like,
you were in the house at that time?
I was like, wait. People are, what wanatoka job? People are leaving work, they are going home, they are going for their sherehes, they are, like, it's a Friday night, it's a Friday evening, like, life is going on.
Yes.
And
sadly,
like, oh,
so.
Man. Like, it's only my life that had stood still. But anyway, we transferred him, and yeah, over the next couple of days, planning the funeral and everything, I got extraordinary strength from God. That's all I can say. I was able to be really sober. And then my in-laws gave me the chance to make decisions on most things. And I was able to I think we were able to give him the send-off, best of our ability at that time, that he deserved, and to be mindful of his personality and his preferences and things like that. And that was really helpful. Yeah. So that is my journey with.
Wow.
Yeah.
When you're talking about your tears drying, you feel your throat is like cracked.
Yeah.
And it's also dry. You feel your nerves zimekauka, literally. I think it is something God just does to you.
Yeah.
So that maybe you can pull yourself together, so that you can be able to see things around you, so that you can be able to make some decisions. Because I remember I went through the same thing. I really did go through the same thing. And I remember when my daughter died, we are in Thika. Now we are trying to, I decide, you know what, I'm not leaving the body here. We are transferring to Nairobi. So again, my friend makes a call. Thank God for friends who have connections. And it is in the evening again, the same 5:30. And we decide now we are moving the body to Montezuma. And now to find a house became a bit of a challenge. And I'm like, I don't care. You know, I can just put her in the back seat, and we go.
Yeah.
Like, me, I'm telling my friend, by the way, Kela, I see you just drive me, I'll sit with her in the back seat, I'll hold her. I'm numb. I'm not crying.
Yeah.
I have some extraordinary strength. I want to do things.
Yeah.
But I think God knew that I needed a hearse. And so within a short time, he provided. So God does that for us. Because he knows we are at our very vulnerable space. And he just wants to make sure you're sober. Because I don't think that experience, if for example I went through, if my friend listened to my madness and decided to drive with me sitting with my dead daughter at the back seat of her car, I don't think I'll be sane today. Because that journey is not a small one from Thika to Nairobi. It's not a short journey. It probably would have lost it somewhere and should have dropped me in Mathare maybe. But you know, back to your story, you mentioned you kept going back to the morgue to go and see him. What was that for you? What was going on in your mind at that particular time? Or how are you feeling? And when you went and saw him, how was that for you?
I felt peaceful when I saw him. Like I was like, oh, you're here. Oh, you're here, you know. But I also felt, and sometimes, you know, you read, for me, I'm a believer, like you read the Bible so many times.
Yes.
But it's interesting how in certain situations it just makes more sense than others. Like for example, that's why we read it for all of our lives, you know, and it always means different things. So for me at that point when I saw him, I'm like, I made peace with. Taking you back the Friday before he passed on.
Yes.
The Monday before, the day before he passed on. I was from work. I was really tired and I was making dinner. He came a bit late for him, and by a bit late it's like 7.
Yes.
And then he came and he was like, I was cooking. I was so tired that day. I was cooking and I didn't have, like, I wasn't in the best of moods. Like I wasn't jolly and all that. So he kept on coming to the kitchen. He was like, unahitaji usaidizi, unataka kitu? And then he comes back, he's like, unataka kitu? Nikusaidiaje? Niko like, niko sawa. And then he went to the living room. He's like, like how he'd called me his pet name, and he's like, usinitafute? Unanitafuta? Usinitafute, niko hapa tu. Like he said that like 3 or 4 times. And then I became annoyed. I said, sawa, I've gotten the joke. Like, nimeelewa. So now back to the situation where I was going to the morgue a lot of times, I realized the difference between spirit and body at that point. And I understood at that time that his spirit had left his body, and the body that was there was not him.
Yes.
It's the form that, like, his spirit possessed. His spirit possessed that body because he needed to be on earth at that time. Yes. So now his body was not him. It was a representation of the person who he was when he was here. But it's just that his body, his spirit is not there. Yes. But I felt like it was with me. I felt he was a really calm guy. He was really confident, you know, self-assured. He knew what he wanted. He went for it. He didn't like a lot of fuss around him. He was cool, calm, and collected. He had some swag to him, you know. Yeah, he was. So when I saw him, like, yeah, this is not you. But let me look at you in your representation, so that when you're no longer here, I have this, I can be able to remember who you are and all that. So for me, the more I saw him, the more I got peace with the fact that it is just his body that has left. His spirit is still there. It's his body that has left. His spirit is still there. So that's what was happening. Yeah. And also now on the day of the funeral, yeah, the funeral was crazy. It was, yeah. It had a lot of people. We were really overwhelmed by the local, national, and international support. People came from far, really far and wide, all around the world for his funeral. And we were really supported as a family. But I remember my most distinct memory, if nothing else, was I was really composed throughout the church. I read my own, you know, tribute and things like that. Yes. But when we were at the grave, and maybe you can relate to that, and they had put their casket down, and now all the rites have been said, and then they were putting the sand, the soil.
Yes.
And I'm like, with every scoop of soil, I was like, my dreams have gone, my dreams have gone.
Oh,
every
dear.
like when I zika all my dreams, all my ambitions, and I was like,
done.
That's the time that I broke down properly. Like that was the moment where it came home. Everything just came together, and I was like,
yes, this is.
I was torn. I was like, my dreams are gone. Like,
oh dear.
Yeah. As I'll also mention, like the distinct moments that made a difference in my life during this journey. And one of the distinct ones is later, like that, the next day, his uncle, his really close uncle, who was very influential to him, who he looked up to a lot, and my pastor. So the pastor mwenye alikuwa ametushikanisha in our wedding, I was a family friend, and he's a friend to date. He's called Canon Buthia of Anglican Church.
Yes.
So he officiated our wedding, and then he officiated the funeral.
Okay.
He was coming all the way from Kilifi at that time. But I remember he stayed on, and so me, when people are fussing, whatever, after the funeral, people are around, chai, nini, wageni, I was just tired. I was like, I don't feel like. So I just went and sat by the grave. So it wasn't visible, so I just sneaked away and just went and stayed there. And so I think, was it Canon who found me first? Yeah. He found me there. And then later on, our uncle, and then they asked for seats. So they asked, like, our small brother to get us 3 seats, and we sat there at the grave. Hey, they talked to me that this is not the end of life, blah, 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 and that I'm going to get married again, and I'm going to find happiness.
On the day of the funeral?
The next day. And I was like, you guys, you're not serious.
About?
What are you talking about?
My husband just left me.
Yeah. How?
Wow.
Yeah, like...
Speaking life to that.
But I was
situation.
like, you guys are being so insensitive. Why are you telling me that, you know? But again, in hindsight, like, God sends, like, people to plant certain ideas in your mind, or to give you a certain reassurances, even at a time that doesn't make sense. And so that's what they did. So that was one of those distinct moments. Another distinct moment is when my pastor from Nairobi Chapel, Reverend Nick Korir, came and visited me home the next week. And he told me it's okay. It's okay to feel angry. It's okay to question God. It's okay not even to want to pray, not to want to go to church for a season. It's okay to question and to go through the motions.
Yes.
Yeah, I think he made me feel free to grieve.
Wow.
Like I don't have to, like, we are Christians, but we are living in this world which is full of adversity, and there are moments in which even there are stories in the Bible where men of God are questioning God and asking him, where am I? Like in the story of like in many stories, people are questioning God, and so he was telling me, this is your time.
Yes.
When you need, and he also made sure, actually, may I think that I joined Grief Share where we met.
Yes.
Maybe I have no idea who signed me up.
Me and you
Even
both.
You.
Shout out. Thank you so much, Reverend Nick Korir, for that talk you had with Maria. Yeah. Myself also, I mean, and that's where we met.
Yeah.
You know, it's now we different dates.
Yeah.
When I'm a life for my daughter is beginning and a life for your husband is ending on the same day. And then now we meet in Grief Share. I also never signed myself up in Grief Share. I don't know who signed me up, but I suspect it's one of the ladies who worked there called Irene, because Irene kept tabs on me so seriously. Yeah. And now here we are. We are a bunch of, let me say, strangers. Yeah. Carefully, but you know, Christian strangers. We have met in this group. And it's funny because the first few days of those sessions, we were all just crying. Yeah. Like, I remember the facilitators were so gracious. Yeah. We were just bursting out in tears when they say anything, and all of us just, oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, it was painful. Yeah. It wasn't like, because all of us were broken at that time. My God, I'm saying that and I'm just feeling like my tears are coming. Gosh. Yeah. I'm so sorry. Yeah. And we went through that, and that is where we got to reconnect. And what what do you think, or how do you think those sessions helped?
Yeah, just as a bit of a background, I think several churches, so Grief Share is a program that was run by Nairobi Chapel, but I understand that is a program that is run by several churches. It was started, I believe, in a church or by 2 ministers in the US.
Yes.
And now there's like a guideline around how people can get through grief in a group setting. And so we were both recruited into this program, a church program. I think it was like, is it 2 or 3 months? I can't remember.
10 weeks.
10 weeks. And every Saturday morning we would meet up and
at 7 a.m.
At 7 a.m.
Before you start feeling sorry for yourself, you're in the session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had 2 counselors, and in that we had like guided sessions around talking about our grief and processing it as a group. Yes. So I guess our group had like around maybe 6 to 8 people. Yeah. So for me, the sessions were helpful. I think they helped me make sense of my situation and grief in the context of like our Christian faith, but also what it was important with the sessions is making me feel like I'm not insane. Right?
Yes.
Like when you hear somebody so they had like these little snippets of stories of people around the world who had gone through grief.
Yes.
And what they did for different people, parents, children, husbands, wives, sisters, friends, you know, and what they went through. So it helped me feel that I'm not insane, like some of the things I was doing.
Yes.
It helped me process a bit, but it helped me interpret it from the Christian perspective. But honestly, it was just a fraction of my healing. It was just a journey. But my healing came in different formats, in different people who I call angels, who appeared in my life and helped me go through it. Yeah, but for me, it was just helping process and understand it from a biblical perspective, but also to reassure me that I'm okay, that I'm doing well, that I'm not insane. Yeah.
I remember those times I used to wake up in the morning and I would sneak and just pick a boda or pick a cab and go to the cemetery and sit at my daughter's grave for an entire day.
Yeah.
Without me telling anyone where I have gone. And my dad got wind of it and he was angry. But he didn't understand.
Yeah.
But the sessions I was getting in Grief Share were showing me people who have gone through the same situation or similar situations of losing a loved one as myself, and they did the same thing. And for me, it was that was my point of separation in this physical world with my daughter. Yes, but that is where I put her body last. So for me, it was connecting. So I would go there and talk to her. And then I would go to Grief Share and I would see people doing the same thing. And like you said, I'd be reassured that I'm not crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
And it really helped.
Yeah.
So I truly highly feel that it was a very important part. And also, I don't know if that resonates with you, but I also got to understand God in the space of death.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Because I don't know if you ever got to a place where you were blaming God at some point, because I did.
Yeah.
I did. I was mad as mad can be.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I was. But I think that mine wasn't prolonged as usual, as many people were. I feel like many people were so angry on our behalf as a family. But for us, we just got this grace that we weren't angry at anyone. You know? People were like, oh, these terrorists are... I don't remember feeling like bitterness towards them. I remember feeling bitterness towards God because he had, promised us great and mighty things. He had put all these things. So I was like, why would you take me through all this? Just
so you are not angry at the terrorists, you're angry at God.
No, because I was like, these things happen everywhere around the world.
Yes.
Who am I to be? Like, my family is not visited. Like, we see these things in the news every day. Like, who am I for me to be absolved from all these things? I was like, but God is the one who put him in that path because he had decided that is the day he's going to leave earth. Like, it was his appointed time, but I was like, why, So for me, my anger was mostly with God for a season. But I think now those situations like grief share help me process and understand some of that. But also my support system.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You mentioned something that on the day before he died, that is on the 14th of January, you know, you are not in your best self, you're in the house, and he kept telling you, I'm here, don't look for me, I'm here. Did that ever kick back in your mind at some point and you are questioning yourself? You know, like the way they say in life, you join the dots backwards.
Yeah.
Did that sort of resurface somewhere and you're feeling like,
I wish,
you wish you had conversations. You wish you were a little nice.
It did for sure. The good thing is that like the time when he was on leave, we had a really nice time. Yeah, we enjoyed ourselves. It's just that particular day I had assignments, I needed to cook, I had a lot of work, I had deadlines. So it wasn't a him thing, it was a me thing.
You were overwhelmed.
I was overwhelmed, but I hadn't communicated that. But what I thank God for, honestly, is, and it's something I would like to pass to people, is always make sure, no matter what is happening in your life, you're always in good terms with the people who are closest to you.
Yes.
So that morning, he had a meeting and he woke up late and he was like, he rushed, dressed up, tarara. And me, I was also getting ready and almost getting out. And before he left, he was like, for me, I'm like one of those people who drag a bit, say goodbye for a bit of a long time.
Yes.
So he was like, oh, bye, I'll see you later, you know, at the door. And I'm like, where? Come back here. We don't say, in this house, we don't say bye like that. So I went, I hugged him, I looked at him, and I saw what he was dressed, like how he was dressed. So even when people were asking me those questions later, I knew what to answer. But I was like, no, let's say a proper bye.
Yes.
Like, so I hugged him. But it doesn't matter what had happened the previous, like how I was feeling, like, but that moment, looking back, made me feel really good.
Wow.
Like, despite his rush, I stopped him. I'm like, wait, I know I'm being a bit annoying right now, but this is not how we do it in this house. You know?
And can you imagine how we dismiss?
Yeah.
So can you imagine if we dismiss, we're like, no, you're taking a bit of my time. I need to go, I have a meeting to attend to.
Yes.
At that particular time, if you had not called him back, if he said bye and you said bye because you are also in a rush to clear your stuff and go to work, you would never have known how he was dressed.
But I wouldn't have
probably, you know, maybe you'd not have had a moment to even check his closet and see amevaa nini, because you're also going to work. Na si ati mko na ubaya. You are just fine. So can you imagine how those little precious moments would mean a lot? Would mean a lot, because now here you are, you're being asked, how was he dressed? Una imagine ungejibu mi hata sijui na mlitoka nyumba moja asubuhi. You know?
But more importantly is the fact that I got to hug him and tell him goodbye.
Exactly.
And then in the middle of the day that day, I just decided to text him. I'm like, hey, what's up? How are you doing? Like, I'm fine. Like, I just said, oh, I missed you. Like at around 12 noon, I just said, oh, I miss you. That was probably the last text we had. And then he told me about the terrorists on WhatsApp. Yeah. So I'm glad. And that's the thing, like for us, even for the younger couples who are so busy and bogged down by a million things, career, people have children. Make sure that like part of your business is creating those moments in your home.
Very important.
Whether you pray together, whether you create a routine around your loved ones so that you and don't dismiss it, don't deprioritize it because there are other things. And that is something that I'm very keen on to date.
Create a routine around your loved ones. Because you never really know. We are not saying bad things are happening, but be intentional about that specific relationship. Be it the children, be it spouse, be it family. You know? So now we have buried Dennis. We have done grief share, and then Maria has disappeared. Maria has taken inaitangaje? Ameenda chini ya maji. Ameenda chini ya maji. And then later on, me, I am hearing things. And I'm like, I need to check on my friend. What's going on? So how's life after that? Before we go there, I just want to touch. You see, like for example, in many families, you mentioned you have a very good support system, both your family and your in-laws, your former in-laws. And really, that's a special thing to have. Were there any two little descending voices? Because I don't know if you heard of, or maybe because sometimes you hear a young couple promising, there was definitely an auntie, a distant one, or an uncle who didn't really like you or whatever, or said something, and then suddenly now your husband has passed on, and they're like, did you ever go through or hear of those kind of little things?
Later on, people in villages say all kinds of things.
Yeah.
But I think my mom-in-law is the one who had them. Me, I'm very tough. Like, you don't come to me talking nonsense.
Yeah.
So mostly it was my sister. Like, my sister had something from maybe somebody in my family, or my mom-in-law had in passing something insensitive that somebody said, which was like ridiculous. It's why, like, you know. But for me, there's no one who directly came to me and told me anything. I had it through other people. I don't know, Africans just look for a cause, some like way to blame somebody.
What are some of the two things you had, they said?
There is one that said, like, in the village, I guess, I hear that he dropped himself. He dropped himself from the top floor and it was happening, so he killed himself.
Rumors.
And then there's one.
And then now, of course, that one, they want to pin it on you. You are making him unhappy.
Yeah. And then there was one who was like, oh, we need to pray over your family. So my mom was widowed when she was really young. When I was small, she was widowed when I think she was 32. Yes. And so somebody came and told my sister, who was not married, I think we need to pray. We need to do prayer and fasting for your family. It looks like there's a thing in your family that people are being
There's a curse.
I was like, nope, there's none. Yeah. There's none. Yeah. And the good thing, my pastor told me that, like, don't associate it. My mom-in-law told me that there's no association. You're going to, like, these two situations are completely different. Yeah. Completely, and don't associate it. So those people, like, who are close, who could give me guidance, told me that, and I was assured. Wow. But for me, I didn't really pay attention to those things, because I was like, this is ridiculous. Yeah. It doesn't make sense. Yeah. It didn't affect me much.
So that is just amazing. I mean, it's because there are some people who, when they go through that, then you have these two descending voices in family. Oh, kero getune, you know, amekufisha bwana, you know, and they really break you as a person, knowing too well that you are innocent. Yeah. It's equally hurting you like it is hurting them. Yeah. But they're projecting on you, you know? So I'm really glad that, you know, you had people who shielded you because first and foremost, they know God and they knew that it's such an unfortunate thing that had happened. Yeah. So now Maria has gone through this phase and just like Mount Horeb was Horeb, but eventually it's where Moses went around when he had run away from Egypt. He was no longer a prince for 45 years. He was there, and eventually this was the mountain that God used to bring enough encounters to Moses, and it was called the mountain of God. It turned to, later on was called Mount Sinai, the holy mountain, where God spoke, where God issued instruction. So for me, I'm looking at it like we went through these situations. You went through this situation. Amidst that, in the pain, fresh from burying your husband by his graveside, somebody tells you, it's not the end of life. You know, you'll get married again, and you're thinking ridiculous. You know, but tell me about life now after that. Now this phase, we put it on the side. Now we are starting again because, like you said, you are stuck on traffic with and you'd see cars going traffic, and you're saying life is going on. So how did you pick that bit of life going on? Where did you get your courage from?
Something that is important for me to mention is, before we go there, the importance of living in harmony. Yes. We have a lot of families who say, people even with clergy and, religious people in their family, and they talk about God, but I don't think that many people know who God is. The distinction between my story and other people's story is, I feel like I got into a family of people who know God. who fear God.
Isn't that a blessing?
And because of that, they treated me with so much kindness. They treated me as their own daughter, how they would want their daughter, even over and above,
Yes.
And so I think that's the distinction. Now, with some of the other ladies who were widowed at the same time, I formed this group, and then we were supporting each other. But some of them also came from like religious families or with a strong Christian background. But how they were treated was not
totally different.
It's like there's a huge distinction. But the other thing is, because I lived in harmony with my in-laws and they lived in harmony with me, and they were very proactive about it, it made their healing easier.
Yes.
It made my healing easier. There are some who, watavurugana, you are going, taking a spoon, a cup, everything, this one belonged to my son, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
And these people really, I realized that these people really struggle to get over grief. People who, who are very petty and, they are... Today it doesn't make sense, but my message is that it's so sweet. People don't understand how sweet it is to live with harmony.
Tell them,
with people. It is so good. But anyway, I will expand on that as I go on. Post 2019, 2020 came in.
Yes.
2020, I don't know about you, but for me it was I was left. So for me, I'm a very social person.
Yes.
And I was always on a road trip, traveling somewhere in the world, or work, or coffee date, dinner date, weekend road trips.
Yes.
All of 2019, my friends kept me busy. 2020, it is you and your grief. You are sat in one room. There's nowhere you are going.
You're dealing.
You have to deal.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is the year that I went through stuff properly. So I sat alone with my grief, and I was able, like, it's the year that I cried the most.
Wow.
Yeah, I even took some photos after, but like it was horrible. But that was the year of like kind of doing some kind of cleansing for me emotionally. And at the end of the year, I felt really much better. But it's me being stuck with grief that helped me. Yes. Not always evading it through all this social. It. Yeah. We were left in the same room.
Wow.
My sister moved in with me, and that really helped because even in those moments, she's like in as much as I'm stuck with my grief, she's always there in the next room.
Yes.
Always there in the next room.
Yes.
So that also really helped. So that was 2020, 2021. So part of my support system included a lot of people. And one of them is my now husband. We had been friends from 2015. From 2015, we worked together briefly for about 9 months.
Yes,
we were colleagues, and then my contract ended. He moved on to another place, but we remained friends, and we had a circle of friends that we did. Every so often we did things. We caught up over dinner or on a trip and all that.
Yes. And
so he was part of my support system at that time. When we met, certainly we were attracted to each other as friends with similar values and things like that, had good times. He's a very jolly guy, very happy. So people are naturally drawn to him because of his laughter and
his demeanor.
His demeanor. And it was just the same. There was nothing special.
Yeah.
But I remember when I was stuck in my grief in 2020 and I was going through it, one of the things we were told in Grief Share is we can journal.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so this day I was in deep pain. I'd been crying for hours, and I just took a very beautiful book that I was given by the wife of the CEO of Celluland.
Yes.
It was a very beautiful flowery diary, and I was like, I haven't used this, let me write something on it. So I wrote down what I wanted, how I was feeling, and what I wanted from God.
Yes.
And I was saying, God, like, this is horrible. This is horrible. This is terrible. I want you to redeem me. And when you redeem me, this is what I want. Yes. I want a man who 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. I think I wrote 5 things.
Yes.
And now, like a year later, maybe in 2021, this person who had been in my life for all this time suddenly manifested himself in this way. What I really enjoyed about that situation was we started getting close slowly towards dating. It was very hard to define for a long time. But when we got to define it, it was extremely intentional. But the thing that I enjoyed the most about when he was trying to court me is that he gave me a lot of moments to grieve. He asked me questions. He created situations in which, let's talk about him. Like, how was he like? What did he like eating? Like, so many, yeah. So it made me feel confident because I knew I was somebody who was hard to date. In my mind, I was like, if I'm going to get married, it's 10 years from then, you know?
Yes.
So he was very intentional about helping me like process, like, but process it from a positive perspective, like remembering nice things, you know. And then when it finally came round to dating, I think we dated for a month or two. And then he got us an assignment abroad. Yeah.
So there is your family. There is the immediate former in-laws.
Yeah.
Who you have a good relationship with. So I'm imagining you will tell them something.
Yeah.
Did you, and how did they receive it?
Now it's actually at that point when he got his assignment.
Okay.
Yeah. Because we had dated like for a month or something like that.
Okay. So bado fichia huko.
But it was just a month, that's the thing.
Yes.
Like there was nothing to tell at that time.
No.
And it's that point where like, okay, so this has come. It's either you go or you don't. And at that time, we were like, if you are going, this is, you go, and we are done.
Yeah.
Or you go and we know that we are taking this far, like, yeah, this is not a joke, you know. And at that point, it was like, no, yeah, this is serious. Like, I want to go the whole mile with you. And at that point, I felt confident to... No, I think I told my mom-in-law before that. When immediately we started dating, because me and her were really close.
Yeah.
We were super, super close. And if there's one person who wanted me to get married, it was her.
How? She just lost her son.
Yeah, but for her, now she lost her son, and I think for her, so immediately she has gotten a daughter more than she has lost her son. So she took me, yeah. And so for her, she used to make those jokes, and I'm like, please don't tell me those things. I don't want to hear them.
What kind of jokes?
Why are you? Yeah, like like she would tell me not to underestimate God. Like me, I'm working in my human limitation, but God has a way of working that is far beyond our comprehension. And so she was like, one day you'll get a good husband, blah, blah, blah. He might even be better than my son.
Are you serious?
Yeah, that's what she said.
What?
Like, I was like, these people, they are truly exceptional. Eh?
What?
We never had a tussle over succession or anything like that. Nothing. We all agreed as a family, this is what is going to happen. Cool.
No, yes. Me niko hapo pa. Yeah. One day you'll get married to somebody who is even better than my son. Like,
yeah, like she
this is a special mother-in-law.
She likes joking. Probably she said it as a joke, but she was, you know, she wanted to reassure me and make me feel confident about taking the next step whenever I was ready.
But isn't that a good assurance coming from...
Certainly.
Because, in many cultures, you would imagine these are the same people who would be like, you're our daughter-in-law. Sasa we kuja tu hapa uchungage ng'ombe. You know? Kuje usaidie mzee. Father-in-law amezeeka. Because you got married to our family. Yes, our son has died. You are our wife, period.
Yeah.
She's not... We are not sending you elsewhere. But you mentioned your mother-in-law got a daughter more than a daughter-in-law.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a beautiful setup.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think I would have moved as fast as I did, were it not for her and for his uncle or our pastor, them keeping on planting those seeds. Because now our pastor told me, by the way, you know you're going to date. And the day when you start dating, make sure you bring that man here to me. Make sure you... Like he said it, the canon.
Okay.
He said it like even a year before I started dating. It was like, when you like bring that person, I know you are not somebody who is going to be hard to date. So I need you to bring him here so that I tell him a thing or two.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, yeah. So I told my mom-in-law, and then later on, because now we decided that he will go. He was being moved to Switzerland, to Geneva. And he had like 2 months to prepare.
Well, she has...
You can't even remember.
Me, I'm thinking it's one thing for someone to say, by the way, you know, you'll move on.
Yeah.
And then Now you come and say, unajua madhe, kuna vile.
Yeah.
How was that like?
No, me, I had a lot of guy friends. So sometimes, and they were always around me, coming home for my things, for events.
Yes.
So, like, she will be like, So now when it came to that situation where it has happened, I'm like, I don't even remember how I told her. But I think it was on phone. It wasn't an in-person conversation. I just told her on phone because we used to talk a lot every day on phone.
And what did she say?
She was excited. She was so excited.
Wow.
She was so. I had to tell her to keep it to herself because I hadn't told. Other than my sister, even his siblings. So he was the firstborn. He had a brother and a sister.
Yes.
And I was extremely close. I am still to date very close to them. Okay. But I told my mom-in-law even before I told the siblings. Yet I think that they would be the most cool people with it.
Yes.
But it's just showing the kind of relationship I had with.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And then later on, after her, I told the siblings. No, I told my mom and the siblings, and then my dad-in-law. Yeah, and then now immediately it was these times for lockdown, on and off.
Yes, we have a lot of time.
Cessation of movement,
Yes.
And then they were in Shags in Embu, us we were in Nairobi.
Okay.
But I remember they said that as soon as it's lifted, cessation of movement, bring him before he leaves. Bring him home. Yeah. So yeah, and then that was it. I took him to my in-laws before I took him to my mom first.
No.
Yeah.
How was that?
Because they asked.
Yes. Of course, I'm just, okay. So
even when I took him to my mom, he was like, nimesikia tumepeleka mtu huko. Kwa nini umlete? I'm like, okay, sawa. Hauko umeniuliza. You hadn't asked me, you know. To me, I'm not, because they had made that request. So we went there, we had a really good time. He gelled. And that's the thing about God. How he works. Like, they gelled so well.
Yes.
So well.
Yes. He
wasn't awkward. Wow. He looked at ease.
He didn't feel like aki unipeleki kwa mama yako, unanipeleka kwa. Wow.
Yeah, to date I can't even understand. Even him, he doesn't understand. But I think there's something that God planted in him to be that way for this season, because I needed it.
When the word of God says, for I know the plans I have for you, plans of good and not evil, to give you a future and a hope.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm trying to understand, but it's an understand. God's things, you cannot really package them or box them in to fit into your human mind.
Yeah.
So that can only be God.
Kabisa. Yeah.
That he also didn't feel weird going to your former parents-in-law, who are now like your parents. You also didn't feel weird taking him there. And then you get there and it's just all, if that is not God, I don't know what is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And then?
Yeah, so it was a really nice day. I think it was maybe 3 weeks before he traveled or something like that. And then the next week, I think the week before he traveled, he went to my mom's place and we had a good time. Yeah, but it also gave me a lot of reassurance that these people were with me and they encouraged it. Now they started even talking with him, even when I wasn't in the mix, you know.
Okay.
And catching up with him. Yeah, so that's,
Wow. That's amazing. And then now, me, I'm imagining, now you've gone to the village or you've gone to your home, you have introduced this new man in your life to your in-laws. And yes, the immediate family are happy about it and whatnot. Uko kwingine? Are things all still all okay? Or the other saying, mnaolewa haraka sana.
That time
sasa hizi ni gani? Some of them will even start thinking, alifanya huyo jamaa kanini.
Probably, but I didn't care. I just didn't care.
Were they there?
I think so.
Oh,
and so this is where being tough is nice. It's not always an advantage as a woman, but sometimes it's nice, Like, ukikuja hapo na sijui whatever, unfounded sijui arguments. You don't have an audience with me. Go and look for audience elsewhere. I didn't have time. But I know certainly. I didn't give audience to a lot of people, but it didn't come directly to me, but it came to my relatives, for sure. I think. Now, the thing is, and again, my mom-in-law is the one who was telling me, he's like, you know what? If it was you who had died and he who had been left behind,
yes,
within a year, people would have given him so much pressure. Within a year, he will have already been married. That's what she was telling me. Like, it's the double standards.
Yes.
Men versus women.
By the way, why does it always happen that way?
Yeah.
I mean, if wow.
Yeah, there are double standards.
To
like,
the man,
immediately a man is widowed, what people are thinking about, who is he going to marry next? But for a woman,
so that he can be, you know,
asirandarande.
But you, if you get married again,
you
are a loose woman.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there are oh, you didn't love him, or blah blah blah.
Yeah, or you were the one who pushed him to death. Now, now they're even confirming that conspiracy theory of he threw himself.
Yeah. But also, like, even though it would have been 5 years or 10 years later, people would still have said it's soon. It would have said it's too soon.
Wow.
But a man, even 3 months, 5 months. I have situations, even my friend.
Wow.
Yeah, who was married for a long time. Mom died 2, 3, 4 months later. He was hooked up, and 6 months later he was married.
Wow.
And it's acceptable, right? Like, everybody has their path, but it's just the double standards for women. Yeah, that, oh, it's too soon when it's 3, 4 years later.
I mean, it is so true, because I mean, for me, when my mom died in June this year, unfortunately she died of cancer. On the day of the funeral, my mother's casket is right there. She has not been buried. There was already somebody who was feeding ideas into my father's head.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey,
yeah,
me, I'm still strong. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
So for men, it is a normal conversation. It can start anytime. But for women, it's not supposed to be. I think we need to move beyond that, because just the same way as a woman, I feel, or I want to move on with my life, is the same way for a man. And that doesn't mean that I need to be held back because of some things. You know?
Yeah. But for us as Christians, the Bible gives you permission, right?
Yes, it does. Yes, it's death. It's death that has done you part. You know? Because that is it. Yeah. So,
and it doesn't mean that you love that person less. That's the thing.
Yes.
And for me, something I was very intentional about is legacy.
Yes.
Like how I honored him.
Yes.
Part of my honoring him is being okay with his family, his mom, his dad, his siblings.
Yes.
Taking care of them the best I can.
Yes.
Part of honoring him is how I talked about him, how I, how he would want me to live. He wouldn't want me to be in agony for a long time. I know that for sure.
Yes.
I know he would want me to move on, because he was like, he wouldn't want me he wouldn't want to see me in pain. But part of the legacy is, for us as a family, we came together and put together a foundation. That is the Legrand Lodi Foundation I was talking about.
Oh, yes.
And we decided, let's see what the things that he was interested in, put together a kitty, fundraise, put together some of our resources, and sponsor children, because he didn't have children of his own. Sponsor children's education. He was passionate about that. Young people in IT, mentoring them, and also providing shelter for underprivileged children.
Yes.
Which is something he had written down that he wanted to do at some point in a book that I found, like a notebook, a sticky note I found in his notebook. So I was like, what else can I do beyond that?
Yes. I mean, you've honored him.
Yeah,
you've honored him.
That's the only.
Yes.
Yeah, for the rest of my life, I will honor him.
Absolutely.
As somebody who was substantial to my life.
Yes.
But yeah, life continues.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now we are getting married.
Yeah. So things went really quickly.
Okay.
That's the thing.
Okay.
So he left in May 2021. Then I went to visit him there in October 2021.
There is where?
In Switzerland.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I went to see him. And then in that trip, we got engaged.
Okay.
But the thing about him, and I think that's why things have worked well, is I feel for him, he told me many months later that how he had been praying and fasting before he asked me.
Okay.
So that he was sure it's the right thing that he was doing. It was the right time and all that. That it wasn't him doing it out of, I don't know,
feeling sorry for you as a long-time friend.
Exactly. And I feel like how things worked out, every other thing, how it worked out, it was God's doing.
Wow.
So we got engaged. we had a bit of challenges here and there because again of the perception. So for him, he's an orphan.
Okay.
Which is, yeah, it made my life less complicated because when you have other parents and then I have my parents, I have these other in-laws from my late husband, and then I would have his parents, it would have been so complicated. It made things a bit easier, but still he had his family who had to help him get married, right?
Yes.
I can't lie that I faced some discrimination because of my widow status. But God delivered us from that situation.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
What was some of the two challenges?
Family things, status, like, oh, we don't, like, the fact that the Rora show was done in my in-laws' home. You know, because when you're a married woman, you belong to your husband's home.
Yes.
So unless they came back to my mom to return the dowry, that's the only way in our Kikuyu customary tradition. People don't find themselves in this situation, so they don't know. It meant that they would have to return the dowry to my mom.
Yes.
So that my mom comes, like somebody, Anyway, sorry, my mom would have to return
dowry to your former in-laws.
Yeah.
And then so now you take your husband to
so that I am, exactly.
You're a single girl.
Exactly.
But now you are a daughter in this home. So they're the ones marrying you off.
Yeah.
Isn't that
so it was
beautiful?
So strange. Yeah.
But it is beautiful.
It was. We had a really beautiful ceremony, our traditional wedding, the next April. So we did a crash program. So when he came, we did the Rora show, white wedding in a short time. But people couldn't understand how is that even possible. Not just, he's from a different community, where they struggled, some of them, not all of them, struggled with them, but also even in our community, they're like, how? Like people came and they're like,
how now?
As in, how does this work?
Yeah.
And even how my family is being introduced, I think they thought that my dad-in-law had 2 wives. They're like, oh, huyu ni mamake. These are the siblings, my siblings and his, and like,
yes.
I think many people to date don't know that is not my home. They knew that is my home. They don't know that it's where I was previously married into.
Yes.
So
wow.
I thank God, it was really beautiful. But I think it's just, you can live a different life, right? You don't have to conform to like the societal expectations of what people like. If whatever your religion, whether it's Islam or Christianity, whatever it is, just do things to be a good person, period. It doesn't matter what other people are doing, just be a good person.
Be kind.
Be kind. Be kind. You don't have to be like everyone else. That's the thing. Yeah.
So there are good parents-in-law out here, guys.
Yeah, they are. They are.
Wow.
So, and also my husband has been really gracious.
Amen.
Our lineup, so our lineup had his sister was the best. So we didn't have a best man. Okay. So it was his sister who was standing behind. Sister. Yeah. And now my late husband's small brother was my best maid of honor. So we swapped it up. Yeah.
You do you.
Yeah.
You don't go with what always happens.
Exactly.
You curate things according to how you, because these are personal things.
Yeah.
Very, very personal.
It was extremely personal for me. Extremely. So we did things very differently.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
So now my late husband's brother was the one who was standing behind me.
Oh, isn't that lovely?
Yeah.
So that was your best man-made.
Yes, man-made. Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing.
But it's so nice. I don't know. I don't know why people like quarreling. I don't understand.
It doesn't have to be a woman behind me.
Yeah.
It can be that guy who truly has my back.
Convincing people.
Yeah.
But this is not your wedding. It's my wedding.
Yes.
This is my wedding.
Yes.
I'm going to do what I want.
No, but it's true.
Yeah.
You don't have to give a lot of explanation.
And also because
you work with who works with you.
I'd gotten married before, and I did things according to what is expected.
Yeah, what they wanted.
Now you need to have a married couple.
Yes.
But now I'm like, I have realized all those things don't really matter.
Because, it's true.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going against the church saying that you need to have married couple as your best couple or whatever, but to be honest,
you
need a solid person.
Yeah.
You need a person who knows you, is grounded, knows God, to be able to walk with you that journey.
And somebody who is stuck to you for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because we found that, like, I asked people who are opposing, like older couples, I'm like, where is your best couple? When was the last time you talked to them? I'm like, oh, after the wedding, we didn't talk.
They just disappeared. It was a ceremonial thing.
Exactly.
But for you, this is a lifetime thing.
Yeah.
You are walking this journey with this person, and it's not about this event.
Yeah, it's not about the event.
They're going to be in my life. So I need them here for this role. Isn't that amazing? I think people need to just change this notion about how the wedding patterns or how they do things. You know, how a godfather is supposed to be this, a godmother is supposed to be this. Find your community. Find your community.
And ask God for guidance. That's the thing. Because for me, I feel like I had an army of people praying for me. That's the thing.
Wow.
I was okay with prayer. I wasn't excellent, but I know that there was an army of people praying for me, which was really, really good. My husband is very prayerful, which really helps, and he has groomed me into it now.
Amazing.
Like I am more of I worship God mostly through music. Like I'm a very musical person. But I have grown in that. And when I know it's of God, like, so we got married in April 2022. We came back from our honeymoon just before he left. I started applying for jobs in Geneva. Like, we knew that I didn't want to move without a job. Because I'm just one of those people who will be really restless. And we knew we wanted to be together as a family. So I started applying for jobs immediately in May.
After the honeymoon.
And a job that I had applied to in the first 2 weeks, I got called for an interview in June. And
that fast?
Yeah, that fast.
Wow.
And I did the interviews, like I did 4 interviews between June and July. And then I was going to visit him in July, like for 2 months. I had asked for remote working. And by the day that I was going to visit him on July 15th, on July 13th, I was confirmed for this job. For real. I kid you not.
No.
Yeah.
You're going on vacation. Na hivyo ndio umeenda ukiendanga.
Like God, like Mungu ali. And that's the thing. I feel like sometimes we struggle so much with things that are within our power. And it's okay. It's our human nature. I understand it. But for me, I had surrendered. Like me, I wake up, I surrender. I'm like, whatever you want with me, God. Everything I have is yours. Whatever you want, you take over. And so for me, I found myself just constantly surrendering. But I felt that when I surrender, things become easy. There's no conflict. But before that, it's not that I wasn't applying for jobs before. I was applying for them. But I had been called for nothing. Nothing. But immediately we got married like this. That's when I got called for a job.
Favor.
Yeah. Like, for me, it's nothing short of God's doing.
That's
honestly.
favor.
So that's the thing I would say. And I'm not saying that people's lives would be like this if they go through this situation. I know that I'm highly favored. But also, whether it takes 1 year, 10 years, 15 years, if you do like that total surrender, then you give God a chance to work in your life.
Totally. You let off of your influence. You let off of your ideologies, thinking that, you know, I'm the best qualified, I am this. And you let God. Wow.
Because as we work within our limitations, we are very limited as humans.
So you come back from honeymoon. You apply for a job. Within 2 weeks.
Within 1.5 months. It was a long process for the interview.
1.5 months you have gone through. And then the day you're traveling.
The day before I traveled is when I was confirmed. So now I shortened my remote working. I resigned, but I was working remotely from there. And then I came a bit early, packed my things and went. But the interesting thing is that God gave me newness in all situations. It's like, I know that I've given you a husband and all these things, and I have rebuilt you. But also now I'm putting you in a new city. That has its own challenges, but I'm putting you in a new place, a new city, with a new family, with a new, you know, I'm giving you all-round newness.
Go and take over.
Wow. So, but I also, this whole situation has made me really humbled. Because I know that it's not how amazing I am that I am here where I am.
No.
People struggle, and it's not because of their own. Yeah, it's not because they are lazy. It's not because they are, they have a bad attitude. It's just because, and it's okay to struggle.
Yes.
But I am really humbled for the far that I have come. And I hope that because of the favor that I've been given by God, there's a higher calling that I can be able to talk more to people about living in harmony, for example. Encourage people more. Know that it's not the end of the road, even when you feel like it's the end of the road. I feel like I am obligated to be a living testimony of God's goodness.
And you are.
Yeah.
And you really are. And man, I'm so grateful. Like, wow. Just how things went, just how things worked out.
Yeah.
And now here you've got a job in Geneva. You're doing project management there.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, and God even didn't downgrade me. Like, I was doing that already. I was willing to be even a lower position, but God said, I'm going to restore you to exactly where you are.
Wow.
In a better situation, kind of. So I'm really grateful for that.
Isn't God amazing? He has a beautiful sense of humor.
Yeah.
Because now I'm
but
here,
when
I'm imagining
it, you don't feel like it's a sense of humor. You
of
feel
course
so
not.
cruel. Yeah.
But you see that the part of total surrender is what now works the magic, the God magic for you.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking you're here in Kenya, you're working for this company. Okay, fine. Now you want to move to Geneva. Kwanza unaanza kujiangalia. Now you're applying for 2 jobs below par, and then God says, no, actually, we kuja. This is you. I want to show you that I can do this thing for you. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's just so amazing.
Yeah.
So, wow. Now
Indeed.
you've relocated to Geneva.
Yeah. And the thing is, I am happy right now. I'm honestly really, really happy. I thank God for my life. But I know I can't live in the ignorance that things will always be okay. They won't.
No.
And it's okay for it not to be okay at some point. Like, this is just part of a story, and it's a good one.
Yes.
And there'll be ups and downs in my life as I go forward, but it's okay because I have tasted and tried God, and I know that He's there.
Wow.
No matter what happens in my life. Yeah.
He remains constant. He's
Kabisa.
the friend that remains constant.
Kabisa.
Wow. And I agree with you. It doesn't mean that now because it's this beautiful transition and everything, that everything is going to be beautiful. Yeah. And I'll go back to the example, I made of Mount Horeb being the holy mountain of God, because initially it was a point of hiding. It was it was a place of pain. It was a place of isolation and loneliness. And then here Moses is, and this is where he's getting instructions from God, and he gets this mantle to lead the children of Israel out of Egypt. But then again, it came with its own struggles.
Yeah.
So this is just life. But the one person that remained constant when he was in Pharaoh's palace was God. When he ran away into the Mount Horeb, God was there with him. Yeah. And now when he's leading the children of Israel through the Red Sea, God is there with him. Yeah. So God is always going to remain constant.
Kabisa.
So this is where we need to focus.
Yeah.
That is where we need to rest assured. Yeah. You're going to meet turmoils. We're going to meet things that are going to break our hearts and make us question why. But God remains. Yeah. You know that He's right there in your corner somewhere. Yeah.
It's not always easy though.
No,
it's easier said than done.
Yes.
Yeah. Even me, like this year has been a bumpy year for me. And sometimes I forget. Like, it's just being human. But also when you surround yourself with a community who remind you.
Accountability.
Yeah. You remind. Yeah. And then you're like, where enyewe? Wacha niache kuji, Yeah. I stop using my own strength and rely on Him.
Wow. So how is marriage life? The new phase?
It's good. I thank God. I feel like I've really grown as a person in a very positive way. Yes. And the thing is, now, like, when I was married and a bit younger before, I was, the small things that sumbua young brides. Little things here and there. Now I think my husband has it really good. Me, I'm not petty. Because I'm like, you know what? Me, as in, I've had, like, this is not the worst thing. Like, this small thing over here, me, I've seen worse. Yes. Tusonge. Let me give you feedback. Let's move on. Yes. And the same for me. So
open communication.
But I'm happy. I'm content. I see the grace of God every day, and I have grown in it. He's very patient and kind.
Yes.
And also he's very good with my family, my situation. I feel like marriage by itself healed me. I wasn't whole by the time I got married, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But now this almost 1.5, almost 2 years now, I feel that I have healed slowly. Being loved by him has helped me heal slowly.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Let's give him his flowers.
Yeah. Completely.
Yeah.
I thank God.
Yeah. And I really want you to give, we give flowers also to your mother-in-law and that family.
Yeah.
Listening to you, they are a God family.
Kabisa.
And they are a blessing.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Because it would have been very easy for them to break you.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I hope, like, if there are parents who have, like, anyone, you'll have a child, you have your child, you'll have your in-laws, whether your child is this small or is already married, just live well with your daughters-in-law. Because I feel like the parents have more of an influence of a relationship than the child.
They actually do. They do.
So they can determine the course of how they want their relationship with their in-laws, like their daughter or their son-in-laws to be. And they will guide. Because me, I felt led. Like, our dad-in-law led us. He leads. He tells us, this is how we are going to go. This is the direction we're taking as a family. Yes. Let's go. And it's easy to follow somebody who is following God, you know.
Amazing.
Yeah, you can't follow somebody who...
They have some direction. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow.
So people just to live in harmony with each other. It doesn't matter how hard it is. Because if you can bear your own children, these children have been given to you. These new children, bear with them the same way you are bearing with your own children, in the imperfections.
Amen.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Now we tell us a bit about the Legrand Foundation. Yes.
So last year, 2022 January 15th, marking I think the 3rd anniversary, we decided to launch the Legrand Logic Foundation. And the goal of it, as I mentioned, is for us to be able to honor his life and his legacy and the things that he was able to do and the things that he wasn't able to. So in that foundation, we have 3 objectives. Yes. To educate underprivileged children, to provide adequate shelter for children and the homeless, and also to empower young people in IT to be able to get the skills they need to advance their career. Okay. So far we have gotten on track with the education part. We have several scholars, I think around 4 or 5 now, who we are paying school fees for. Yes. And we have been trying to fundraise. We are putting resources as a family, but we also been doing things to fundraise. Yes. For that. Yes. Part of it is actually my mom-in-law's book. She's called Ruth Mwaniki. So she wrote a book called Hope Beyond Grief. Yes. Just to share her experiences as a mother going through grief, but also in the family, sharing grief through the eyes of the family. Yes. So she writes down, and now the book is published. It's in stores, it's in Naivas, it's in Textbook Center, it's in several stores, and it's also online. So that is part of how we fundraise for the foundation through her book. Awesome. But even generally through other events and even private donors.
Hope Beyond Grief by Ruth Mwaniki. Yes. Mrs. Mwaniki. Well done. I will definitely be looking for that book for myself. I just want to read about you. You're an amazing woman. You're an amazing woman. Wow.
She calls us Ruth and Naomi, like that whole situation.
Wow. Wow.
Coincidentally, she's called Ruth.
Yeah, clearly.
But she's Naomi. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. So yes, God restores. God rebuilds. They say once broken, now beautiful. I think this is just how I can sum this up. Once broken, now beautiful. Look at you. Once broken, now beautiful. And again, in the, living out the legacy of Dennis, rest in peace, Dennis. But this is your legacy, looking down on us, that you are still impacting the young people that you would have wanted to, through Maria, through your mother, through your family, and that is really beautiful, So, guys, This is such a beautiful conversation. Me, I just want us to talk. Maria, before we wrap this up, is there something that you feel you'd want to talk about that we haven't talked about?
I feel that I have covered most of it. But yeah, I think we need to challenge ourselves every day to be better people.
Yes.
It's not something that comes easy. To be kinder, to look out for the people around us and see how they are doing. I think that's the other thing. Like, you don't know how much people are struggling. I think from the perspective of somebody who has gone through struggle, is that just look for opportunities to be kind to someone. I've had friends who, like I have a colleague, she's called, a former colleague who was called Betty. So Betty's ministry to me would be every week, or twice a week, she would come to the office and put food in the freezer for me. Like she would meal prep and make food. So I would never cook because Betty would have me sorted.
Have you covered.
Yeah. So she didn't do these other things, but that was her ministry.
Yes.
Somebody else would be like, like she doesn't know how to deal with cars or whatever. So I will take it for service. Somebody else would come and say, oh, let me take her for a road trip. Somebody else would come. Like, you don't have, and the thing is, I'm sure you have gone through it also. Like, there's never the right words to say because grief is so personal.
Yes.
And sometimes it's okay not to have words, but there's something called the ministry of presence. Just be there. Be there. Have
the
her
ministry of presence.
Yeah. Have
not
her
presence.
Yeah.
Sizawadi. Just being there.
Yeah. But even for young men and women who are getting into dating, I think, well, Jeff, my husband, says that, like, for him, he's really enjoying marriage. But if he was really closed off to me being a widow or this situation, he was there for everything. He was there for my wedding, like in 2018. He was there for the funeral. And I remember seeing him constantly, like at the wedding, at the church. I remember seeing him at the morgue. I remember seeing him as my friend. But he wasn't close-minded. No. And we are enjoying a really beautiful marriage just because he was open-minded and, you know, he didn't limit himself.
Amazing.
So yeah, think out of the box. You don't have to conform to societal norms and be kind.
Absolutely. Extend grace to one another.
Yeah.
Don't walk around poking people. You know, look out for one another. Be present.
Yeah.
Be present. Sometimes, I mean, before we go, sometimes there's this statement that many Christians use, especially when you're going through a grief period. They come and tell you, it is well. He's in a better place. What do you think about that?
Hey, no. Hey. But there are people who enjoy, like people who, it's okay, that message is okay for them. But for me, it's not well.
It isn't.
And it's okay not to be well. That's what Reverend Nick said. Like, sometimes it's not well and it's not well, period. But it's going to be well at some point.
It will. But no, I'm saying at that very time, it is hard in you.
Yeah.
Your stomach is crunched up. Your throat is dry. Your eyes are dry. Your nerves are aching on the side of your neck. And somebody comes with all their love, hug you and tell you, it is well.
Sometimes it's okay, I think. And for some people, they accept it. But there are some people who, no, it doesn't work very well. Just ask God for guidance for the right thing to say.
Yeah.
Just ask for guidance. But also, if you have been through grief, be there for people who have been through grief. I remember Njeri Kaberere.
Yes.
The wife of the late Kaberere.
Yes.
She had it in church. She looked for my house even before Reverend Nick. He had mentioned where my house is, and she walked in. She's a stranger. I didn't know her.
Yes,
but I remember she got into my bedroom and she introduced herself, and she didn't say anything. We just cried together.
Yes,
that first week, like like the fact that she was there, it was well. Like I could see her and where she has come from.
Yes. Wow.
Like, she just hugged me and we cried. And then afterwards, she went around serving people tea. And
she was a stranger.
Yeah, she was serving people.
Njeri Kaberere.
Yeah,
thank you very much for coming through for my girl here.
Yeah,
wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, I have so many little angels.
Yes, that's amazing. Maria, this is your camera. I want you to talk to that young woman who has just been bereaved. Just encourage her.
The Bible says that he works all things together for those who trust in him, those who are called to according to his purpose. Now that you have gone through this situation, it's horrible, and it's okay for it to be horrible. But every situation, there's a blessing that comes after it, right? It's very difficult to have blessings without adversity. So I would just encourage you to find moments in which you can find the meaning of what God, like why God has taken you through that situation. And just like Mama Abby, that's what we call her.
Yes.
For her, she is seated on this seat. If she, were it not for the situation she went through, she wouldn't be seated on this seat. For me, I wouldn't be seated on this seat and giving such a powerful testimony were it not for all that adversity. So in as much as it might take a month or 2 or 5 or whatever amount of time, it's going to get better eventually. Even though it's not better now, it's going to be better eventually. As long as you keep hoping, keep trusting, and surround yourself with positive people. Don't pay attention to the negative things. They're always there, and especially in our African context. But be encouraged. I have another young widow who we were with, who her husband was affected, and she didn't have much going on for her. She was jobless. And she decided to enroll into piloting as a way of finding her purpose. And now she has just gotten her first
badge.
Yeah, her first badge. And I was like, for me, when she was going through it and I was advising, I was like, this is crazy. But you're my friend and I'm going to support you. But you see, for her, she has found her purpose in a different way. And she's going to be blessed and her child is going to be blessed. So God has got you, no matter what you're going through.
Amen. Amen.
And
I want you to also just give Ruth, aka Naomi Moneki, her flowers right here. Because I think she played a pivotal role in if she had not spoken those words inside of you, if she had not said, maybe you would be feeling, what does she think, what will she say? But because she opened her heart to talk to you and to tell you, you know what, you're my daughter, and that is who you are, and this is what I feel, and this is what I see.
Mom, thank you for being an embodiment of the love of Christ, you know. When Christ communed with the tax collectors, the people who, you know, the people who are seen as unworthy, you have been truly a sign, a symbol of God's goodness. Thank you for emulating the words of Christ when we are told to live in harmony, and just being there for me, surrounding us with their love, not just for me, but for the entire family. I'm sure everybody can confirm that is true for all of them. So I think I really appreciate you and the role that you have played to bringing me this far.
Amen. This, my people, is just refreshing for me. And I cannot say thank you enough, Maria. Honestly, I cannot say thank you enough for even honoring me and honoring us here at LNS and coming to talk to us and giving us such a powerful testimony of restoration and God's doing, and, you know, going through the valley of the shadow of death and coming out at the end of the tunnel and embracing life afresh and breathing the roses along the way and living life intentionally, you know, and even holding and keeping the legacy of your late husband. This has just been a beautiful moment for me to just sit and look at you and admire you. And I was just making fun, you know, your skin looks amazing. Nitakuona kando. So, you know, is there anyone you would think at the top of your head, is there anyone you would, you know, want to come sit at the exact same place you are sat today and you know, encourage us, encourage people? Is there anyone who you think would be a good fit to come and share something with us? You know, it could be your mother-in-law. I'm just saying. I will give you feedback. Amazing. Thank you so much, Maria. This has been LNS. It sounds like rebuilding. It is what it is. It is encouraging. It is a sweet conversation. It is living life intentionally. It is allowing God to work through us. It is allowing God to restore us, because He is a restorer of those who seek after him. It is called Once Broken, Now Beautiful. I've been your host, Wanjiro Samuels, and this is LNS. Have a good afternoon, and God bless you. Dun, 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 dun.